Okay, welcome back guys. Well, today's plan, we're just going to have some fun with this secomak gp3, and the plan is we're going to make a set of dampers for it. So as well as being able to do the attack whale and the all clear signal, we'll also be able to do the pulse and the high-low signal on this siren as well. Because this one is a 6 and 5 port, so we've got different port ratios on each end. When this damper's closed, you'll get the 6 port sound, and obviously when that flips over, you'll get the 5 port sound. So that'll give us the high-low, so they have to open alternatively. And then for the pulse, both dampers will need to open and close simultaneously to get that start-stop signal. So if we spin it round to this end here, you can see at the minute we've still got the original heater plates on it. We've taken it off on one end, and that's just exposed our rotor inside there. Here's the one we've taken off, and we're actually going to use the metal end cap off of that, because that fits perfectly over the end of the siren here, because that usually just covers over the heating elements inside it there. So the plan will be to make these dampers. Obviously this will fit nicely just over the end of our siren here, so we'll use that as our base piece just there. And then we've got a set of mounting brackets just here, so that's our flange, so we'll need to attach that on there, bolt that through. We'll also need to seal that so it's airtight, so when the dampers are closed we don't get any air leakage getting into the siren. And then the damper itself, we've got one of these air conditioning ones, so this is a 100mm or 4-inch I think. So that's normally an isolation valve for airflow systems. So at the minute it's got a manual damper handle on there, but we can see when that handle's turned, that gives us the open position and the closed position, so that gives us a lot of what we need straight away. So this will obviously be mounted over the flange. We'll just need to cut that down a bit there, just so it sits nice and tight on there. And again, we'll need to bolt and seal that onto the flange. We'll also eventually we'll get some ends for it there, so it's got a nice grill on the end of it or something, and we'll get this sprayed up as well so it's nice and grey. Initially we're going to try it out manually just to check that the air seal on them is good enough, so making sure it cuts off the airflow into the siren so we don't get any sound out when they're closed. And if that's all well, we can then strip off these handles, and on this raised plate here we can mount an adaptable box there, and then we'll need to get a solenoid inside, and then we can electrically operate them to open and close. And then we'll also need to make a control panel in order to get the solenoids to work as well. So that's the plan. Good thing about this, obviously they just bolt on. We can take them off, put it back to original anytime we want if we just want to display the GP3 on its own. But this way we get to have a bit of a play with the signals. And if this does work out okay, we have got some end plates just arrived in for the bigger sirens, like the gp3, so we can always try scaling this up and having a go on one of the big ones if this works out okay on this one. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut down these flanges just so we've got a decent tight fit between these, so when they're mounted on the siren they'll be right tight up to the edge there. Also just got to be careful where this damper mechanism opens up inside. We don't want that to foul on this when it's inserted on the inside. So I think probably best bet, going to cut them back just about where that crease is there. Obviously we've got a pair of them to do because we've got 2 dampers to make for this siren, so we'll do the same cut on both of them, and then it will be a case of drilling and bolting these through to hold them in place, and also some sealant between the 2 components just so we've got no air leakage here. And then once we've got that done, we'll be bolting the whole lot to the red end plate we've got here off of the siren, and again we'll do some sealant around that as well. We'll get them mounted onto the ends of the siren, and then we'll be able to give it a go. Okay, so we've got both the flanges cut down now and just pushed inside temporarily, and you can see they now fit nice and tight up to the edge of the dampers there. So the next job will be to drill a number of holes round in between on the inner edge here so we can get them bolted on, and also get a sealant in between those two, so we've got our first air seal there. And once we've got those mounted, we'll get them onto the end plates down there, and then we can get them attached to the siren itself. We've got our first set of holes drilled in the first set of dampers here, so we're just going to put our layer of silicone sealant round there. So we've used silicone just because it's a bit more flexible, so obviously with the metal expanding when it heats up, or the vibrations of the siren, hopefully that'll stop it pulling away. So we'll just get the bolts through now. We've used M4 and self-locking nuts there, just so with the vibration of the siren nothing's going to release or become loose, because we want this all to stay nice and airtight there. So we've just got 6 of these to go round, just to get the flange set. Okay, so we've got the flange firmly secured onto the damper on this lot. We've got a set of 6 bolts with locking nuts around on the inside there. These are all well clear back of that damper mechanism, so we won't have to worry about that fouling on those. And if we spin it over, just see when the damper's open inside, any gap there was down between the flange and the damper casing there has all been sealed with silicone, so that'll make sure that stays airtight for us. So the next job, we'll get this mounted onto the to the base plate, and then we can get this side attached to the siren. What we have done is made sure on this one that the damper mechanism opens away from the siren, just so when we're testing it manually, obviously if it was the other way around, we're going to be hitting the siren with that arm. So both our sets of dampers have now got their flanges bolted onto the bottom there. We've sealed that with silicone so there's no air leaks, and the next job will be to mark up and drill the siren end plates to mount the dampers onto them. So I've lined this up on the siren so I know where the top hole is here and left a mark there. So then we can make sure we get these dampers seated in the right direction on here. So measured up all the distances here. We've got 6 holes to drill through each set of these to mount these 2. Again, we'll do another layer of sealing there just so they're completely airtight, and then we get these bolted onto the siren and we'll be ready to do a manual test on them. Okay, so we've got the first damper holes drilled and that lined up on the end plate there. So obviously this end plate is going to be mounted onto the end of the siren here, and the inner edge of it is going to be up quite close to this spinning rotor here. So the bolts we're going to use for this one, we're going to use countersunk M4s there. So what we're going to have to do is just drill a bit of a countersinking in the back of this, just to make sure these bolt heads don't poke out the back and foul against this spinning rotor. So for this, we're not drilling all the way through from this side. All we're doing, we're just drilling a larger size on this side, so the heads of those countersunk screws can sit in, and hopefully the heads will sit a bit more flush on the back of this end plate here. So we've got the first damper installed on the end of the siren there. We've got no problems with the rotors there. They've got free movement, so we're not worried about any of them bolts on the inside there. We'll probably have to do a bit of sealing just between the end plate and the rotor there, just to make sure it's completely airtight. But looking down inside, we can see the rotor down at the end there, so we're all good inside there. As I say, they're just going to be manual tests to start off with, just so we can check that the air seal on them is good enough and they actually do the job we want them to do. And then if that's all good, we'll get the solenoids mounted and get them working electrically. So we just got the second damper down the back there to get installed onto an end plate, get that sealed up, get that on the opposite end, and then we'll be ready for a trial run. So we've got both end dampers fitted now. We've done all the necessary sealant between everything to try and keep the air seal in there. What we'll do a blip test, so we'll just power it up momentarily, and then we'll be able to test the dampers manually just to see if they're blocking the airflow as we hoped. And then if that's all good, we'll do a full power run with it. So we've set up in this old underpass down here, so we're just going to run it off the generator. We'll run it up to full power and we'll give these manual dampers a quick test. Okay, so the dampers seem to be operating as we wanted them to, so we've got the high-low signal working on it just fine. So the next job will be to strip off the handles on these manual dampers, and as we can see on the CS6 behind the larger siren, we'll need to make up some boxes like that, get the solenoids mounted, and we'll be able to start getting them working electronically. We'll get a control panel built for them as well. So probably do this in a couple more videos. We'll do a video of building the solenoids and getting them working, and then probably a video building the control panel for it as well, so we'll sort of see the project all the way through. So look forward to catching up with you soon, guys.